morning students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing fine. So we have completed 2 chapters of reproduction in organisms, and in today's video we will just have a quick revision of these 2 chapters that will help you for your board as well as your any other competitive exams, so that you will understand the concept in brief. And let us start. So in the beginning we started with the topic lifespan. So lifespan is nothing but the period from the birth to the death, right? So and we studied that every organism, if it is taking birth, means it has to die. So death of every individual organism is certainty. So but we studied that single cellular organism does not die, because any single cellular organism, it will divide into 2 daughter cell. That means this organism, which was only one, it has multiplied, it has divided itself, and it is now 2. Okay, so it is now in the 2 organisms, and that will continue further. So these 2 organisms also further, they will also divide, and they will also be present in the further 2 organisms. So their death is nothing but they are always multiplying by dividing, right? So they are always dividing, so their death is not certain. So this we have learnt, and we have gone through the terms like average lifespan. So average lifespan of a population is nothing but what is the average members of the population lived. Okay, so we learned it through by taking the example of human population. So among 100 members, so 80 members, if they live for 80 years, so that means average we will take 80. And if maximum lifespan, that is nothing but if any one member of a population, if he or she, if he lives for about 120 or 150 years, that means that is the maximum lifespan that a person or a member of a population is living, then we take it as a maximum lifespan. So life expectancy is nothing but number of years an organism is expected to live. So later we went through the example, we solved this NCERT diagram. Okay, we got to know the lifespan of different organisms. So from this we learned that any organism, we cannot predict its lifespan just by its size. For example, parrot, it lived for 140 years. Its lifespan is for 140 years, but it is such a small organism, right? So we cannot predict any organism just by looking at its size. So we went through the different age lifespan of different organisms, and we started with reproduction. So reproduction is nothing but the biological process in which organism give rise to younger ones, offsprings similar to itself. Okay, and we studied the basic division classification of the reproduction. So reproduction can be classified as asexual as well as sexual reproduction. So in the asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction are further divided as, so asexual reproduction is nothing but the reproduction is not involving the fusion of male and female gametes. That is, there is a single parent in the asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction without gamete, asexual reproduction with gamete. Parthenogenesis process we studied. And in the sexual reproduction is nothing but there is male and female gametes involved in the sexual reproduction. There is male and there is a female organism, and they are involved in the sexual reproduction. Okay, so male gametes and female gametes in that. So if male and female gametes both are present in the single organism, male as well as female gamete, they both are present in the single organism, then we call it as bisexual. Okay, so but if the male and female gametes, they both are different and they both are present in the 2 different organisms, we call it as unisexual. and both the male and female gametes present in the single organism, we call it as bisexual. We studied the example of tapeworm and earthworm, and unisexual we studied the example of human beings. And without gamete, so binary fission, budding, sporulation, fragmentation, vegetative propagation, which were without forming the gametes, and then with gamete formation we studied about the honey and wasps as well as turkey. Okay, so sexual reproduction, we started with the sexual reproduction is nothing but fusion of male and female gametes. That is nothing but example of an how the reproduction, fertilization takes place in the human beings, where male gamete from the sperm, that is sperm, female gamete from the ovary, ovum from the female organism. Male organism is different and they both will fuse to form a zygote, right? So this we studied. And in the tapeworm we studied the bisexual organism, right? So where both male and female organs are produced in the single organism, that is the reason we call it as bisexual. And we studied earthworm. So earthworm is different from tapeworm because even though there is both male and female gametes produced in the single organism, but to increase the variety in the offsprings, as I said, only the offsprings are they are the variety or the variation in the offspring, new kind of offsprings are produced only in the sexual reproduction, not in the asexual reproduction, or when there is a different when there is a sexual interaction is there, then only there will be a new variety of the offsprings produced. So for that reason, even though they have the male and female gametes in one organism, they will contact with the other organism, okay, for the exchange of the sperms, and then they will reproduce. So this is a unique example that we have studied. And then we started with the asexual reproduction. As I said, asexual reproduction does not involve two different sexes. That means it does not involve fusion of two different gametes, male and female gametes. Okay, so it does not involve male and female gametes in case of asexual reproduction. So in that we studied binary fission, so different modes, right? So that we will study one by one. So binary fission is nothing but simple asexual reproduction where the organism is dividing, right? So it is simple longitudinal and transverse division. So simple division is nothing but, okay, so it is a longitudinal division, it is a transverse division, and it is a simple division, right? So what is longitudinal and all we studied. And budding, so what is budding? So in binary fission, organism is dividing, okay. So in budding, the organism is developing some bud. So if this is the organism, there is a development of something outside the body, which we call it as bud like structure. So that bud, it will then it will then get disconnected, or it will just get separated from the mother, and then that will also grow into an new individual. So that we call it as budding, right? So that is the difference. Okay, so that we studied internal budding that takes place in sponges, and external budding in the yeast as well as in the hydra, right? So this is yeast example and this was the hydra example, right? So then we got to know what is sporulation. So sporulation is nothing but, spores are nothing but they form a vegetative cell during unfavorable environmental conditions. So whenever the organisms, especially these simple organisms like amoeba, any organism, when they get into any unfavorable conditions, when they are not able to reproduce properly, then what they will do, they will undergo sporulation. Okay, so it is just like an adaptive response. Okay, so spores are very multi-layered, and they are very dormant, and they are strong. Okay, so they are having capacity to withstand and control the outside variation in the temperature. So the spores are formed, or this process of asexual reproduction, the organisms will adopt when there will be unfavorable conditions. So we saw the examples of how the amoeba will, we call it as encystment. When the amoeba, when there is unfavorable environment, inside the amoeba only the spores are formed, the daughter cells are formed. Chlamydomonas and Conidia, these are the examples that we saw in the sporulation. So we call it as encystment. So next one was the fragmentation. Fragment is nothing but when your body, any part will cut, that part will only grow as a new organism. So splitting of the cells into two parts and makes new bodies, we call it as fragmentation. So one organism, it got cut here, and that cut only grew as one organism, and the remaining organ also, it also covers up. So the new organisms will grow. So regeneration takes place in the fragmentation. Okay, so that we studied Spirogyra example, fragmentation, how the fragmentation occurs in the plant species. So one part we can cut, this we do it in the daily basis, day-to-day life, when we cut one part and we can plant it. Okay, so this is also fragmentation. So then what is vegetative propagation? So it is an asexual method of the plant reproduction that occurs in its leaves. So it may be through the leaves. So when the vegetative part of a plant or any organism, when we cut it and when we grow it somewhere, that part will also grow as a new organism, right? That we call it as vegetative propagation, right? So it may be through the leaves, roots, or the stem. So that we studied. So vegetative propagation may be through the stem, leaves, or root. So if it is occurring through the stem, we can again classify it as a underground. So we can again classify it as underground, subaerial, aerial, and bulbil. So if it is through the leaf, we can study buds of bryophyllum and roots. So it is not important, and it is very rare through the roots. So we did not study about roots. Okay, so that we will study. So underground, so we studied about tuber, potato, right? And rhizome, ginger, and bulb, example onion and garlic we studied. So where you can see the eyes. Okay, so the bud like structures, when we bud like projections that grow from a potato, when we keep it for a longer, that are nothing but eyes, buds. So that we cut it, and when we put it in the soil, it will grow as a new organism. Okay, so that will also grow as a new organism, we call it as bud. So here there are different, so there is rhizome, example is ginger here, right? So what are the adventitious roots we learnt? So roots, actually they should grow from the radical region, right? But if they grow up other than that of that, then we call it as adventitious roots. And disc, bulb like structure, we call it as disc. Okay, so bulb we call it as onion, and garlic we studied. So subaerial stem, offset we studied, sucker we studied, and runner. So here you can see when the stem, if it prolongs, and then from there the adventitious roots are formed, and then the new organism is formed, then it is offset. And here sucker, okay, so it is coming out and it is growing. And here runner, we studied the example of grass. So aerial stem, we studied the example of sugarcane, and bulbil of agave, where each bulb, when it cuts and when you grow it, then it will also grow as a new plant. Okay, so this we studied. And so it was about stem, so it was about leaf. So example is bryophyllum, okay, where on the leaf different planktons, small planktons are formed, adventitious buds we call it as, and when you grow this, and it will also grow into a new plant. Okay, so bryophyllum. So this was asexual reproduction without gamete formation. These were the example. And asexual reproduction with gamete formation was the parthenogenesis process, right? So parthenogenesis process that was taking place in the queen, where a queen in the honeybee, so without going, so when it produces the 2n gamete, so it will not reduce its gamete. So this 2n, it is only growing as a drone here. Okay, so egg cell, so it is 2n, it is going, it is through the meiosis, it is producing n, and this n has to fuse with the sperm cell, right? But it is not fusing with the sperm cell. What it is doing, without fertilization, it is just developing into a drone. Okay, it is just developing into the drone. We call it as parthenogenesis. Okay, so this we call it as asexual reproduction with gamete formation. So this was about the asexual and sexual reproduction in brief, and we started with sexual reproduction. So fusion of male and female gametes, we call it as sexual reproduction. So there we studied about juvenile phase, when the growth phase we study. Okay, and then vegetative phase, it is called in the plants where the growth will be taking place. But then comes the reproductive phase, when the organism is ready to reproduce. So flowering takes place in the plants, that is also a sign of reproduction. So that we have studied, and we have gone through the examples. Okay, so sexual reproduction we studied, when the organisms are able to lay the eggs. Okay, so that we have studied. So the females of placental mammals, they exhibit cyclic changes in the ovaries, accessory ducts, and hormonals during the reproductive phase. Okay, so we studied about estrous cycle in the non-primates, right? So what is the difference between estrous and menstrual cycle? In estrous cycle, what happens? In the non-primates, estrous cycle, the egg that released by the female organism, so if it is not getting fertilized in that season when it is released, first of all, in the menstrual cycle, almost each and every month the egg is formed, and when the egg, it is, so every month the egg is formed. Okay, and if the egg is not fertilized, then it will get shed off. Okay, so bleeding occurs and the egg will get shed off. In the estrous cycle, what happens? There will be breeding seasons. Okay, so in that season only the egg is formed, and if the egg is not getting fertilized, then it will not get shed off. It will get reabsorbed by the body in case of estrous cycle. So that we have studied. And then seasonal breeders are nothing but, so reproductive cycles only during the favorable conditions, and then only they will seasonally they will breed. So unlike us, so continuous breeders where there is no time. For example, human beings, there is no time that only during May women's in the like females will give birth. So do we have any season like that? So from April to May, June, only April to June the females are ready to conceive, or females are ready to give birth. Nothing like that in human beings, right? So throughout the year, any time when the egg is getting fertilized, they can breed. That means they can give birth. But seasonal breeders, what happens? Only during that season the animal or any that organism is able to get the fertilization take place, and that season only the they are able to give birth. Okay, so but sometimes the human beings, because of the exploitation, they will exploit the cow and they will they will make them to breed. Okay, so that is different, but they are seasonal breeders. And okay, next we learnt about senescence, that is old age. Okay, so the last phase of the lifespan, when the the menopause occurs in the females, when they are not able to produce egg. Okay, so that means they are now getting older, so that is senescence, that is old age. Okay, so that means everybody has to go through the senescence. Okay, in flowers also, in at some particular that means in plants also, at some particular time when they get old, they'll not be able to produce flowers. It depends on what is their lifespan. Okay, so then we started with the sexual reproduction events, pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization events. So in pre-fertilization events, we studied gametogenesis or gamete transfer. So process of formation of gamete is only called as gametogenesis. So male and female gametes look same, then we call it as homogametes. Okay, so heterogametes are nothing but male and female gametes. They will look entirely different. So here you can see it is a female gamete and it is a male gamete, right? It is a sperm and it is egg, but they both look very entirely different from each other. Then we call it as heterogametes. So when they look exactly like each other, then we call it as homogametes. Okay, so gametogenesis, we studied homogametes and heterogametes. We studied about bisexual plants. Okay, we studied about different terminologies. In flowering plants, male flower we call it as staminate. Okay, and female flower is pistillate, which bears the pistil. Okay, so then male and female flowers, if they are present in the same plant, we call it as monoecious. Okay, so we call it as monoecious. If they are present bisexual animals, we call it as hermaphrodite, as we know. So dioecious is nothing but when the male and female flowers are present in the different plants, we call it as dioecious. And unisexual animals, you all know cockroach and higher animals, where both male and female organs, they are present in the different organisms. Okay, male organism is only different, female organism is only different. And you have to remember, in case of fungi, bisexual we call it as homothallic and unisexual we call it as heterothallic. Okay, so we studied about haploid and diploid, right, and gamete transfer. So from male and female gamete, so both the male gamete should transfer and to fuse to the female gamete. So sometimes both the male and female gametes have to move. Okay, and sometimes male gamete, it is moving, then female will be stationary. Okay, we saw the example of our in human beings. What happens? The female gamete or the egg will be stationary, that means it is not able to move, whereas sperm, it is moving, so that means it is motile, so it is able to move and it is able to fertilize the egg. But in case of flowering plants, flowers, what happens? Even in that, the ovary or the ovules are also stationary, and even the pollen grains are also stationary. In such cases, the pollinating agents will help in the transfer of the gametes. In some cases, both the male and female gametes are moving. Okay, so next we studied about the fertilization or syngamy, right? So diploid female, here you can see that diploid female bee, so here it is producing egg, but without fertilization it is forming the male bees. right? So that means the parthenogenesis is taking place. So don't get confused. Here there is a female bee, okay, which is producing young gamete by meiosis, but that means it is a single parent, okay, single female parent is present and that is producing the female gamete. It is not fusing with any male gamete here. What it is doing, it is just giving birth to the male bee, okay. So that means it is without fusion, it is producing the offspring. So we call it as parthenogenesis. So what is zygote? Fusion of male and female gametes will produce dizygote, which will be in diploid condition. So external fertilization is nothing but fertilization takes place outside the body of the female, where both male as well as female organism, as well as female organism, they will leave the gametes in the any medium, for example in water, okay. So the both male and female gametes, they will be moving, that they will be motile and they will fuse in the water, okay. So there, for most of the time, the disadvantage is that so offsprings which are extremely vulnerable to predators, so threatening of for their survival will be higher in case of the external fertilization. So internal fertilization we have studied. So in the flowering plants also internal fertilization takes place, in the animals also internal fertilization takes place. That means the zygote or the baby, it is developed inside the mother womb. We call it as internal fertilization, okay. So in internal fertilization, as I said, whether egg will be stationary and the male gamete or the sperm, it will be motile, so it will go and it will fertilize the egg, okay. So or what happens, both egg as well as the male as well as female gamete will be stationary, okay. For example, in case of what we said, in case of flowering plants, but in such cases the pollinating agents like bees, they will help in the transfer of the male and female male gamete like pollen grains to the female gamete. So zygote, we studied development of zygote, it depends on the type of life cycle, right? So that we have studied. We have studied the haploidtic life cycle also, right, where both the haploid as well as diploid organisms are occurring alternatively in the generations, okay. Next we studied about embryogenesis, okay. So during embryogenesis, zygote, it has to undergo cell division, mitosis and cell differentiation, right, to form the embryo. So one cell, if it is formed, if the zygote is formed, so male and female gamete will fuse to form the zygote, right. So this zygote is now single cell, it has to first divide. So cell division should take place so that it will become a multicellular. So it will divide and then the cell differentiation takes place inside, so that different organs have to form. So some cells will differentiate to form eye, some cells will differentiate to form legs, okay. So like that differentiation of the cell differentiation should occur, okay. So zygote undergoes cell division and cell differentiation, okay. So that we have studied. So embryogenesis, two types, oviparous as well as viviparous. So oviparous meaning egg laying and viviparous meaning which give birth, okay. So where the embryo or the zygote which is developed inside the female body, and here the embryo which is, so when the zygote it is formed, then the eggs which are fertilized, they are given out, and then they are covered by a hard calcareous shell, and then in the safe place they are laid, and then incubation, after incubation the young ones are born. So that we have studied. So next we studied about sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. So flowering plants, we studied about two parts, androecium as well as gynoecium. Androecium is male reproductive part and gynoecium is a female reproductive part. And in the male reproductive part, which is nothing but the anther, which is having anther as well as filament, when you take a cross section, we can see that microsporangium will be present. So microsporangia develop to pollen sacs. Okay, so then they will develop into the pollen sac, and you can see the epidermis, endodermis, middle layer and tapetum. So there are four, it is surrounded by 4 layers. Okay, so outer 3 layers give the protection, and inner the tapetum gives the nourishment that we have studied. So the sporogenous tissue will form in the middle, okay, at the center, and here at the center the sporogenous tissue will be formed, and then that sporogenous tissue consisting of the diploid cells. It consists of compactly arranged homogeneous diploid cells, which we call it as sporogenous cells, which will divide further. As anther develops, each sporogenous tissue undergoes meiotic division to form the microspore. As I said, it will be in the 2n diploid number sporogenous tissue. It will go meiosis and to produce the haploid microspores. Okay, so this we have already studied. The formation of microspore from the pollen mother cell through meiosis is called as microsporogenesis. So the formation of the microspores, okay, or the pollen grains. The formation of microspores from the pollen mother cell through the meiosis, we call it as microsporogenesis. So there will be a pollen mother cell formed by the sporogenous tissue. It will undergo meiosis to form the pollen grains, right? We call it as microsporogenesis, which is very, very important, right? Then we studied about the microsporangium, which contains thousands of pollen grains. They are released with the dehiscence of the anther, and we studied that, which is very, very important, as I said, the structure of pollen grain. So it is having 2 parts, exine as well as intine. So exine is made up of sporopollenin, which is highly resistant organic material which can withstand acid, alkali, everything. And exine, it is having only the region in the pollen grain where the exine is absent is, it is at the germ pore region, right? So only in the germ pore region where there is a pore like structure, there only the exine sporopollenin will be absent. So other parts sporopollenin will be present. Okay, so that we have studied. Intine is nothing but inner wall. It is made up of cellulose as well as pectin. So it is having vegetative as well as generative cell. So vegetative cell is a bigger cell, generative cell is a smaller cell that flows in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Okay, so that we over 60% of angiosperms, as I said, they will shed in the 2 cell stages, and some they will shed in the 3 celled stages, where the generative cell, it will divide. So this generative cell, it will divide to form 2 male gametes, and the vegetative cell will be having 1. So total 3 celled stages they will, in some of the cases 3 cell stages they will shed. So androecium, as we have studied, pollen grain, male gamete we studied. And what is the economic importance of pollen grains? They are can be stored. Okay, they are rich in the nutrients, right? They can cause allergies, Okay, so that all we have studied, and it is also very, very important. And gynoecium, so if it is only one carpel, we call it as monocarpellary, and if it is many carpels, we call it as multicarpellary. And if the carpels, if they are multicarpellary and if they are fused together, we call it as syncarpus. If they are free, we call it as apocarpus. Okay, so that we have studied. The parts of the gynoecium are stigma, style, and ovary, right? So ovarian cavity, we call it as locule. So inside the ovary there is a ovarian cavity, okay, where the placenta is located, right? So that arising from the placenta are ovules, that is megasporangia. So the number of ovules in maybe it varies, right? So this is very, very important diagram that we have studied here, right? So we have studied there is a hilum, there is protective layers, integuments, micropylar end, okay, chalazal end, okay. So that we have studied. We have studied where the placenta, ovule and ovary wall will be located. So structure of microsporangia, so that we have studied. So what is megasporogenesis? It is the formation of megaspore mother cell, okay. Megaspores from the megaspore mother cell, we call it as megasporogenesis, okay. So ovules generally differentiate differentiate a single megaspore mother cell in a micropylar region of the nucellus, and it is a large cell containing dense cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. So megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis to produce 4 megaspore. First, as I said, you have to remember it will undergo meiosis here first. So it will undergo meiosis to produce megaspores, okay. So now it will form in the formation of megaspore tetrad, and in that 3 will degenerate and only functional megaspore will be formed, okay. So that we call it as a single megaspore, we call it as monosporic development, okay. So we call, and then it will undergo the mitotic division, right? So to form the 4 nucleate, and so nuclear region divides 2 times, and 4 nucleate and 8 nucleate structure will be formed here, and then 8 nucleate and 7 celled stage. As I said, here 3 nucleus, here 3 nucleus, at center 3 nucleus, 2 nucleus, together 8 nucleate, and 1 cell, 3 cell, 7 cell, 3 cell, 7 cell and 8 nucleate structure we have studied that it will form, okay. So how the 7 cell and 8 nucleate, I will tell you once again. So here antipodals 3 cells, okay, and here 3 cells are there, right, and here it is a big central cell. So here it is a central cell in the middle, okay. So but what about nucleus? Nucleus are here 3 nucleus, here 3 nucleus, right, and here 2 nuclei which are polar nuclei, but they are not separated. They are not, the cell is not separated, the nuclei are also not separated. So 3 plus 3, 6, 7, 8, 8 nuclei, right, and the cells were 3 and the central one 7. So 7 cell and 8 nuclei stages formed. So filiform apparatus which will help for the guidance of the pollen tube, everything we have learned. So 3 cells are grouped at the micropylar region, egg apparatus, synergids, and everything. Chalazal end, whatever it is there, here it is a chalazal end, here it is a micropylar end. So there are antipodals formed here, filiform apparatus, synergids, polar nucleate, and central egg cells. They all together form the mature embryo sac, which is, this diagram is very, very important, right? And then we studied in detail about how the mature embryo sac, mature female gametophyte is formed, that we have studied. So where meiotic division will form the tetrad, 3 tetrad will degenerate, and only 1 tetrad will form 8-celled stage by mitotic division, and that will arrange as a mature gametophyte, female gametophyte. Then we studied about pollination, right? So transfer of male pollen grains to the stigma, we call it as pollination, autogamy, geitonogamy, and xenogamy. So autogamy is nothing but self-pollination, where the transfer of anther or the stigma pollen from the anther of the same flower to the stigma, anther to the stigma of the same flower, we call it as autogamy. So where we also studied about chasmogamous and cleistogamous flowers. So cleistogamous flowers are completely bud-like, chasmogamous flowers are open flower-like structures. Okay, so exposed anthers and stigma is there in the chasmogamous flowers, whereas cleistogamous flowers, they are completely inbreeding depression occurs because there is no chance, because the flowers are closed. Both the male and female gametes are produced in these bud which are closed. So male gamete is also male also present here, female also present here. So the pollination also takes place inside the bud. So there is no way that any other pollen comes from outside and possible of cross pollination here. So inbreeding depression takes place in the cleistogamous flowers. And geitonogamy we have studied, where the transfer of pollen from the within the same plant, transfer of pollen from one flower to the stigma of the another flower of the same plant will take place, right? So that we have studied geitonogamy. Okay, but it is functionality it is cross pollination, but it is also involving genetically similar offsprings because it is within the same plant. So xenogamy is a cross pollination completely, where the pollen from one plant flower to the stigma of the another flower of the different plant it is taking place. So agents we have studied: abiotic agents, wind; biotic agents, water. Okay, abiotic agents, wind and water; biotic agents, insect, birds, bats, primates we have studied. So wind, pollination by wind, we call it as anemophily. So how the pollinate plants which adopt wind pollination, how they are present. So example, grass and corn crab. So how they are present? They are present in the cluster form. Okay, how the pollen grains they are present. So they are free, they are non-sticky, they are they are lightweight. Okay, because the wind has to carry it through them. Okay, so that all we have studied. So large amount of pollen. So this slide, it as I said, it was very important, because so they will ask the flowers produce large amount of pollens are produced. Pollen grains are light and non-sticky. Well exposed stamens should be there. Okay, so large feathery stigma. So abiotic agents, water. So we call it as hydrophily. So we studied about different example: Vallisneria, Hydrilla, and Zostera. Okay, so where sometimes female flower it reaches the surface of the water by the long stalk, and male flower or pollen grains are released into the surface. Okay, it was in case of Vallisneria. In seagrass, what happened? The female flower remains submerged in the water, whereas pollen grains are long ribbon like structure which are carried inside the water and reaching the stigma. Okay, so there are different types, different methods that they adopt. Okay, so here sometimes they are covered, the stigma or the pollen, they are covered by the mucilaginous covering. Okay, not to affect by the water, and even though they are aquatic species, the wind pollination would take place through the wind. Okay, so wind and water pollination we studied. Okay, biotic agents by the animals, so we call it pollination by insect, we call it as entomophily, which is very important. So that we have studied. So pollinated flowers, so they will have to produce colorful larger flowers. Okay, so then they should produce nectar as a reward for the pollinating agents, right? So flowers pollinated by flies, beetles, odor should attract the pollinating agents, right? So biotic agents, animals, so they are also adopt different types of characteristics to attract the pollinating agents, right? So these we have studies. So, and we have studied this very beautiful example of Amorphophallus, where it is both the pollinating agent, it is also getting benefited, whereas the flower is also getting benefited, right? So where moth is getting the place to produce the offsprings, it is to produce the larvae, whereas the flower, it is getting helped by the moth by the process of pollination, right? So this we have studied. And we studied about outbreeding devices. So outbreeding devices are nothing but it where the hermaphrodite flowers, where only the self pollination will take place, there the inbreeding depression occurs because of continuous self pollination. To avoid that, they will avoid synchronization. So the stigma, if it is receptive, then the pollen grains will not produce. If pollen grains are producing, then stigma will not receptive. So then arrangement of anther and stigma at a different positions, self incompatibility, so to it's the genetic mechanism, so to prevent the self pollen from fertilization, which is inhibiting pollen, so pollen tube growth in the pistil will not occur. So such kind of self incompatibility will occur, and production of unisexual flowers. Okay, so that will also help in outbreeding. Okay, so that we have studied. And next we studied about pollen pistil interaction. Okay, where how the pistil will check whether the pollen grains are compatible or not. Okay, so whether they are capable or not, that it will check, and then only it will allow the pollen tube formation. So that pollen pistil interaction we have studied. Okay, so artificial hybridization we studied, where the emasculation, so cutting of the anther, okay, from the flower, and then covering the stigma from the bag, we call it as cutting of the anther, we call it as emasculation, and covering the stigma, we call it as bagging. Okay, why they cut or separate the anther? Because to avoid the pollination. So anything like any other insect may come and do the pollination there. So they want to insert the desired and pollens. That is why they will cover the stigma with the bag, and when the stigma becomes receptive, then they will dust the pollen grains of the desired plant or the quality. Okay, so that we have studied. Okay, so artificial hybridization we studied, and double fertilization also we have studied. So the next concept, double fertilization as well as post fertilization events, which I have made the short videos, short and informative, so that you need to watch for the complete analyzing of the concept. Okay, I hope you understood the class. I hope this revision class was helpful for you to revise whatever you have already watched and already learnt. So any doubt, then if you need such kind of revision classes after each and every chapter, completion of each and every chapter, then please let me know. Then I can do the videos again after the completion of chapter. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and share the one who is in